Cyber risk and compliance automation is finally here. Legacy GRC systems cannot support the powerful, real-time automation and oversight that organizations require to take risks that matter to succeed. CyberSync continuous control automation ingests data from the IT GRC stack to update controls against regulatory requirements and risks in real time, delivering insights and visibility. See how members of the Fortune 500 are saving millions annually by visiting securityweekly.com/cybersync. Cybercriminals are using social engineering, loaded with urgency and fear, to successfully prey on victims, your employees, or your customers. Protect your Office 365 email from today's most sophisticated attacks with Barracuda Email Threat Scanner. It's a free tool to help protect your business from these hard-to-detect attacks. The Barracuda Email Threat Scanner uses artificial intelligence to hunt and eliminate Office 365 email threats. Find the cybersecurity threats hiding in your Office 365 email right now. Get your free email threat scan at securityweekly.com/Barracuda.
Welcome back to Business Security Weekly. I am your host, Matt Alderman, joined by Jason Albuquerque and Adrian Sanabria. Do you want to stay in the loop on all things Security Weekly? Visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher or our YouTube channel. Sign up for our mailing list, join our Discord server, and follow us on our newest live streaming platform, Twitch. If you've missed any of our previously recorded webcasts or technical trainings, they are available for your viewing pleasure at securityweekly.com/on-demand. Those will come back right after Black Hat, folks. Don't worry. We got plenty more coming up after that hybrid event soon, a couple weeks away. All right, let's get into some articles. Jason, we missed you last week, so I tried to bring in a couple here that I can get your take on.
Sure.
I started with this. I started with some more around organizational and some management stuff. This first article from Harvard Business Review: big theatrical meetings are a waste of time. Yes,
100% agreed. It's funny, having been an executive leader for quite some time and seeing how some of these leadership meetings go, where you bring in staff and they give updates, and at the end of the day, I'm all about operational efficiency and effectiveness and outcomes of those meetings. We're not there to validate existence. We're there to get good outcomes, get good information, and make some good decisions. So, fast, efficient, effective, and focused on outcomes is what I'm always about.
I love it when entire articles fit into the subject line, into the title.
Yeah, right. But it's funny, they can get out of control, right? If you're not managing expectations correctly, if you're not managing the meeting itself correctly, during that meeting itself, they can go down a rabbit hole. They can go off the rails big time, right? So there's a few things in here that I liked, right? Don't make it a bitch session. It's at the end of the day, we're not here to talk about the ills of the past, right? We're here to stay on agenda and talk about our future. So this isn't 3 hours of complaints. This is to make progress, right? Continuous improvement was the other one, right? So review your meetings in order to improve the next one. Absolutely, right? If you're allowing it, or the meeting starts to go down a rabbit hole, think of ways you can do things differently next time.
We were talking about this morning because once a week the exec team gets together. It's a 1-hour call. We went a little over today because we were getting into some stuff. But one of the statements that came out of the meeting, we were talking about editorial calendars, and our chief editor owns pretty much our calendar, and she said something along the lines of, "Yeah, we used to have those really, really big meetings, but I'm much more efficient, and we get much more done when we kind of do these as kind of one-off." More one-on-one meetings, of course, because that's what happens. When you take, 10, 12 people, even for us, right, and pull them together in a meeting, they're not efficient, and it's a lot of wasted time. You're not getting a lot of stuff done. But if you're doing a couple of those meetings with the right people, you're a lot more productive, just to the point of this article.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side of it is there's a whole lot of money in that meeting. If you're looking at salaries and wages and that type of thing. So, just think about the spend at that point when you're sitting in a half a day, full day meeting. and then think about the outcomes that came out of it. Was it worth the amount of money that was spent?
Yeah,
Usually
one
not.
video. One of my favorite videos to share with people that was a big deal to me when I first saw it. It made a lot of things click for me. Why meetings tended to use up a lot of time and not get a whole lot done, whole lot of value out of it. But Jason Fried's TED Talk from 2008, going way back there, why work doesn't happen at work. And it's not just meetings, but a lot of it's about meetings. And that's one of the points he gets across is when you got 14 people in a 1 hour meeting, that's a 14-hour meeting. And when you look at things from like a consultant point of view, if those are consultants, they also have dollar figures attached to them. So you can very quickly and easily put a dollar figure on that meeting and say to yourself, okay, all these 14 people add their salaries together for that 1 hour. Was this meeting really worth $4,000? Like, did we get $4,000 out of this 1 hour meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you throw in there, the people who show up late. So now the meeting has to go over because they're one of the key stakeholders, and the folks who are so damn busy not being engaged that they're heads down on their laptop, not even paying attention, or on their phone the entire meeting. And, that makes the meeting extend because you have to keep repeating things. And, it's being
and
engaged.
The distractors that take it down rabbit holes.
That's right.
And the purpose of the meeting, the goal of the meeting never gets met because they, take over the meeting, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Exactly right. Usually not worth it. Article number 2, 2 ways to disconnect from work. I like number 2. I can never do number 1.
I was thinking the same thing, Matt. In no way, shape, or form can personal devices and work don't mix. I was going to say the same thing. Carry around a couple devices.
And I have a theory why. For me, at least, I'm kind of obsessive about optimizing. Like you were talking about making meetings better and better. Like I tend to optimize my workflows and my devices and stuff like that. And it makes it really tough to separate out work and personal stuff after doing all that optimization. And honestly, with a lot of the stuff I do, I do a lot of community stuff. Like a lot of it mixes together, and it's like, well, I'm constantly pulling links over from this Slack into BSW or ESW. Like, where do I draw that line? Like at some point, it just becomes frustrating because now I'm trying to copy and paste from one computer to the other computer. I'm just going to sign into that Slack on this one.
At the end of the day, my work and my personal life are so in my community service, and it's just so intertwined. It is my personal life at the end of the day, right? I love my job. I love what I do. I love my community service. I love what I do. Obviously, I love my family and my personal life. So it's just all intertwined, and I manage it that way. It's just it's how I have to run, right? So there's no way I could separate the two. What I did find was in the article, I almost like the three items they called out on how you could achieve that, like establish boundaries, create some level of friction, right? And make small changes instead of trying to completely just go all in, and try to uproot your personal life and your work life and separate them and rip them apart. I like those rules of engagement better than, just kind of pointed putting out there, no personal devices, no, and work don't mix. But for me, I think that's a good thing, right? Create a little bit of friction, right? So it's funny. My wife and I have this thing, and she calls me on it all the time. If I start going down the rabbit hole on my device, she'll knock, knock, knock. Hey, buddy, time to disengage and hang out with the fam.
That's why I think number 2 is better, even though I still only do a part of it. You figure out events at the start, mid, and end of your day. Now, I can do the start and the end pretty easily. The midday for me is so difficult because it depends on the day. I'm 2 hours behind the rest of my team, usually in most cases, right? So midday is really hard for me. But nothing happens before 8 a.m. from a meeting perspective because that's usually my coffee time and my catch up on yesterday's email time, right? Agreed. So I do have that kind of coffee before answers part of my day. And then there's a time in the afternoon where the wife wants her cocktail, and that's kind of like my hard stop, right? Yep. Yeah. And that might vary slightly by day, but it happens every day.
Right. No, agreed. I'm the same, right?
I can hit those too.
Coffee and cocktails. The bookends of the day. I love it.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of helped me here is I quit using over the course of the pandemic and when I started here at Security Weekly, CRA, I stopped using a laptop. I actually had an Intel NUC that I wasn't using, and I turned it into a desktop. So really, work happens in this one spot in my
That's
place.
your friction. You created friction.
Yeah, I actually didn't do that on purpose. I did it because I don't have a big desktop area. The NUC has a much smaller footprint, and it's a lot easier because every time you plug the laptop back in, like the monitors don't come up in the right arrangement. You got to fiddle with that. So it's honestly more convenient and makes it easier to log off at work.
Yeah. Yep, not me. Oh. Because I don't disconnect my devices from personal, so
right.
I get the knock. It's usually on my head, not on the table. Hey, stop that.
Yeah, I still have it on my iPad, my phone, and stuff like that. So to a limited degree, I'll get back. Like if there's a conversation on Slack, I'll get sucked into it.
Oh, funny. Next article, in modernization, security is a barrier and an incentive. And this is some research from IBM, and I think it solidifies some of the conversations we've had in the past. Tech refresh, the ability to refresh is an incentive from a security perspective. And I thought it just reinforced some of the other conversations we've had over the past, few weeks on this kind of modernization, tech debt discussion. Some of the research bears out some of the same.
Yeah, and I mean, they dug deep into the government, into the public sector as well, right? And some of the challenges that they have, and I mean, they're dead on. I spent some time in the public sector, and 60% of the folks that they interviewed think it's very important to modernize, but at the same time, they're like, we're afraid, and we need to be trained. We don't have enough bandwidth, and there's all of these roadblocks that they're putting out there to not take that step forward to modernize, but at the end of the day, it's up to folks like us and consulting firms and business partners and things of that nature to kind of guide them through what that would look like, because there's a lot of fear of that change, and that's why they're not moving as fast as they probably should.
Yeah, that ties. Oh, go ahead, Adrian. Then I want to tie it to. I'm going to skip an article and go to more because it ties into the federal discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to share a quick anecdote because I think part of the problem is understanding what modernization means. Like, how do you know you're moving forward, not backward? And back when I was a pen tester and a QSA at the same time, and for a long time, and really until I left, we did most of the PCI QSA work in spreadsheets. And we were going to modernize and move to a portal. I'm not going to mention the company who managed that portal, but we talked about them in the first segment as one of the companies not performing that well in public markets. But and they actually killed this portal shortly after we tried using it. But I remember trying to use it. It was going to manage all the evidence for PCI and just all the stuff you would normally put into folders and in the spreadsheet and stuff like that. Now went into this SaaS-based portal. And it was so bad, I told them, look, we're going to have to add another 20 hours to every PCI engagement, because this is so, that was something where they were thinking, oh, we're going to modernize this process.
Right.
But the workflow and the user experience was so terrible that it was a step back from using an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. And one of the folks interviewed in this article said it right. And it leads to that, right? Jumping into this without a plan, it's going to be a failure at the end of the day. Yep. So it's got to be well thought out. It's got to be well planned. It's got to be well tested, right? And make sure you're going in that right direction. But, I say it a lot here. No action is still an action. So, moving forward with a plan is way better than doing nothing. So do something, start that movement, start those conversations. Yeah. And if you don't know where to go, find a really good partner to work with and they can help.
Yeah, right. Failing is okay if you learn from it.
That's right.
But only if you learn from it.
Right.
Right. I skip because I want to go to Chris DeRusha's changes to FISMA because it ties in a little bit to the article we were just talking about. Because when you think about modernization, he talks about the cloud piece here, but he talks about some really interesting changes to FISMA requirements. And I think they're very interesting things to highlight. He says, first is we need to involve testing and validating security arrangements rather than relying on self-attestation by agencies. Hello, of course.
Yeah.
You want to know why we're not ready for all the ransomware that's out there? Is because
Right.
we self-attested. We never validated our controls.
That's right. Self-assessments don't work. I mean, I wake up every morning, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, "Wow, you're beautiful," but I'm not. Not even close.
Then he talks
I
about.
think you're beautiful, Jason.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Then he talks about, using security automation. Again, hello, of course, right? It's like when you go to the DMV and you realize they're still doing everything manually. We could automate most of those jobs. It's not the government's best interest some days,
Right.
but yeah, hello, when we're getting attacked like we are from these different nation states and all the things that are going on, yeah, we want some automation. I mean, he's thinking logically about how do we actually improve our federal systems
Sure.
and make them better. He's outlining some things that, hallelujah, finally somebody's bringing
the first
to the table.
one is the catalyst to all of it, though. Self-attestation needs to go away, right? I mean, seriously, I go to the doctor for a reason. Maybe I'm feeling great. Maybe I feel good every day, but I don't know what's going on. I want to make sure I'm a little bit proactive here. And I go see the doctor and he tells me, holy crap, dude, you have high blood pressure. You didn't know that? So it's like, that self-assessment is not going to work. And that if we start going to getting audited by an outside agency, it's going to start giving feedback and recommendations to, hey, increase security automation. Hey, migrate from legacy to the cloud. It's going to start giving those recommendations, and then they're going to be accountable for it.
Right. Exactly right.
Self-assessment works when the risk is so small that you don't really give a crap anyway, but you can at least say that, hey, we did something.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
think about all the exposure of our federal agencies over the years, right? And we were just, self-attestation. Why not? Of course. We're all good.
Does not work.
Yeah, I know. What also doesn't work is not training your engineers. Engineers need cybersecurity training too.
Right.
And I don't want this just from an engineering perspective, because we've been talking about this internally as Cyber Risk Alliance. Should we be doing basic cybersecurity training for all of our staff so they understand the market, they understand the challenges, we make them better stewards in the... Yes, of course we should, right? As a company, that's what we should do. And what I thought was interesting is, some of the things that companies should be asking themselves, because we're going through this right now, is how effective is our training? Are our employees well versed in security? As a security company, we should be, right?
Absolutely. Everyone. But no, I mean, you're right. A lot of organizations become the quote unquote cobbler's children, right? And they're so busy saying, I need to get my entire workforce trained, right? And make sure we're doing a level of end user training for cybersecurity. But they forget about the actual cybersecurity professionals that are there, and that investment needs to happen. And I'm a firm believer, and it's something that I've always pushed with my teams, is that there should be a level. I look at it like around 20% of a person's time, within your organization should be spent in some level of training. Right? It could be a mix and a hybrid of, hey, 10% is on the job training. You're working with someone who has a little bit more skills and knowledge than you, but you're learning from them and you're taking on some of their tasks, right? And then 5% could be, let's say, product type training, where you're learning certain products within your environment that you use, and you're getting skilled there, and maybe some certifications. And then take another 5% on innovation, right? Start learning the best of breed, net new products that are hitting the market, or really that I'd call it more the R&D side, where you're doing research and development to hone in your skills. So it's got to be a mix, but you have to be focusing on those internal engineering resources as well.
Yeah, Jason, are there good sources that you're using right now for some of those training classes? Because I'm getting asked now by our new vice president of people, HR. Are there really good platforms out there that we should be looking at? Because again, we have multiple levels too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got event and salespeople, all the way
Sure.
up to what Adrian's doing in the labs, right? And everywhere in between.
So here's what I'll say, and I won't name any product names, but you start looking at learning management systems that integrate with other third parties, right? So that can integrate with partners. So if you have a technology partner that you work with, let's say you're a Cisco shop, or you're a Microsoft shop, or you're a Fortinet shop, whatever the case may be, you can actually suck in they have APIs where you can connect and suck in some things from their learning centers, right? And then be able to pull in resources from multiple organizations. So that way you can have a holistic program that has a lot of diversity to it based on the needs, especially if you have a lot of different domain areas that you need to focus on and you need to train people on. And then that LMS system can handle it soup to nuts for the rest of the organization as well, right? So if your HR team needs training, it can connect into good HR resources to bring training in. And then you can start actually managing to it, because now you can manage the certifications there. When the certifications are going to come up. You can start planning for annual type trainings within there. Even good LMS systems, you can start doing your end user training out of there as well and have all that documented. But that's the key right there, is having a good comprehensive LMS. That's the hub, the center that has good API integrations to outside resources, so you can start sucking those things in. I mean, I've even had some organizations bring in, as part of their curriculum, and it's something that counts for them, a TED Talk, and make it part of their track and part of their curriculum, because they're sucking it in from the internet and making that one of the checkboxes in their learning.
All right, since you won't name names on the show, I'll have to follow up with you afterward on something that might work for us.
Yes. So I can actually, my sister actually has a master's degree in this. I forget what the field is called, but this is what she does for companies. So I can ask her as well, Matt.
Yeah, it's just, we know there's some foundational stuff, so we're starting to do some research on, where are those right platforms, those right resources to leverage, so we can do a better job internally. We all get enough time doing the podcast and other stuff to stay up to speed on the latest and greatest, but not everybody has that opportunity like we do, because we're doing this every single week.
It's when you get to kind of the office stuff and the soft skills stuff, it would be an interesting perk at a company to have like a skills share or a Pluralsight subscription or something like that. Like I don't know, like there's stuff on writing, making your writing better, maybe making your AV setup for recording a podcast better, your lighting better. There's some interesting, just kind of general purpose stuff out there, and I'm shocked in a lot of organizations, like how many people don't know kind of like basic stuff in office applications that save them tons of time. Yeah. Like just basic stuff. Like you watch somebody use PowerPoint or Excel, and you try kind of bite your tongue, you're like, that could take you 10 minutes instead of an hour, right?
Yep. I've seen that in play. No comment. Last article we're going to cover today: the 8 top job pay salaries. This was it was interesting to me, because when you look at this, there's a lot of different titles in here, from architect and engineer to manager, director. You don't see a ton of variation. You get all the way down to the CISO. I'm like, Jason, I don't know that I want to be a CISO.
That's why I'm a chief operating officer now.
Because when you look at the average salary range of $188,260, and the pressure that's on you,
that's the key component right there, right? That's the key component, is the salary versus the responsibility and accountability that is on a CISO. I think the average salary is being undercut, no doubt about it.
And I think part of the reason for that average salary is I still see a lot of places that want to say they have a CISO. They want to bestow that title on someone.
CISO in name only?
Yeah, but it's they actually have 2 titles. They're director level, but they have an exec title. Right, exactly. and they actually, their actual title is Director of Information Security or Manager of Information Security. But because that's the highest level in the organization, they're like, Yeah, we'll just also call you a CISO and not pay you for it.
And I would, and this is just my guess, but when you look at the salary range and you have that upper level of 264, those are the CISOs who are embedded in the business. Those are the CISOs with the seat at the table, right? Those are the CISOs who are having the strategic conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part here is to understand is if you want to get on the high side of that, you've got to be a business enabler. You got to be looked at as a business executive, not just a security practitioner or security kind of focus expertise. Because when I bet as you compare these, and I'll see if I can find something. If I compare this CISO level to the COO and some of the other offices, my guess this is lower than some of the other ones because for that exact reason.
Yeah, and again, that was why I focused my career path, right? I focused my career path because I wanted to become that business executive. And, it started off as CISO, but then as I started making a name for myself and being able to be viewed as a business subject matter expert, a technology subject matter expert, I became CIO and CISO. And honestly, the only reason why the CISO stayed is because I asked for it to stay. I wanted that CISO title to stick around for a specific reason, right? We were an IT professional services organization and a managed services organization, and security needed to be top of mind. And I looked at it from an optics perspective, because if you were to go look up all of our executives and we had no CISO, that's a bad optic, right? So, I forced that to stay within my job title because I thought it was a good business strategy for us, right? I didn't want people looking at, I didn't want CEOs of our customers or CIOs of our customers looking at us and say, they don't even have a CISO, right?
Right. Yeah. And since all this data came from Glassdoor, I can go out and pull the other executive roles and I'll have to summarize it next time.
And once you get up to that,
to compare it.
Once you get up to that level, like compensation is not as simple as just a salary range.
No,
even some of these other roles here, and also it's not, once you get up to that business executive level, it's not as simple as just, taking another job. Like I know a lot of CISOs, some kind of complex negotiation and contracts go into play there. Like personal liability is a concern at that level.
Yeah, 100%. And again, when you're going in, you're not just negotiating that base salary. You're negotiating a compensation plan, a bonus plan, right? And then there's a lot there. There's a lot there that goes into this. So salary alone isn't always the only variable. So
you could almost put together a whole Pluralsight course on it, Jason. You could create that Pluralsight course. Get some passive income going.
There we go. And passive income.
Passive income is always good, especially on your tax returns. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. We'll see you next week on Business Security Weekly.